striker. Twisting, turning. That's a penalty, is it? No, he's still going. Oh, how about that? How about that?
Carried on into the penalty area. Here he is. And then Giroud. What a goal. Brilliantly worked. Fantastically finished.
Here's Ramsey. And Alexis Sanchez. Great footwork. 3-0. Liverpool blown away. A 3-goal, 8-minute Arsenal blast. Alexis blocked by Newcastle defender. Still not clear. Wow, what a volley. Where others failed, Ozil has succeeded. Well done, Arteta. Plenty of it here. Yes! Arsenal have their breakthrough. Mikel Arteta. They deserve it. Oh, they're behind again. It's amazing. It's Aaron Ramsey. That's the response of Arsenal. Andy Iwobi, nicely done. Brilliantly done. Bayer in Walcott. Sensational Arsenal goal. Is that a handball? No. Nothing the play can do. Great, what a goal! Arsenal have made it 3-0. Jack Wilshere with an absolute thunderbolt.
I still get goosebumps. Jack Wilshere. Hello and welcome to the Clock and Talk. We are an Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Tez. You get me at Gooner Tez. We haven't been here for a little while. It's been a week or so. We've had 2 games since then. A great win today. And but first, before we get down to that, I'll introduce you to 2 regulars. Well, he's becoming a bit of a regular, and that's in Schwinn. But we'll go to Tony first. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks yourself.
Good, mate. Good. Yeah, good. Is this our first or second for the year? Can't remember.
We done after the FA Cup game, didn't we? So that was definitely this year.
Yeah. Okay. So we have been back. I couldn't remember. And Schwinn, you are becoming a bit of a regular now, buddy.
Yeah, almost snuck in there with the first introduction. Almost. But I think you corrected yourself before Tony gave you shit, didn't you?
Mate, I would never hear the end of it, to be honest. Fucking dead set. You know what he's like, mate. Throws his toys out of the pram.
Yeah,
remember that YouTube comment?
Basis.
That YouTube comment a couple of weeks ago about me having backache carrying the show, and I don't even get fucking introduced first.
See what I'm gonna put up with.
This is what he's like in public. Imagine what he's like privately, you guys. Just imagine. Yeah.
Those who have been messaging me looking for Thursday night live show, unfortunately, it has come to an end on our channel. I know Darren did say why, and I'll be honest. When I get a message at 1 a.m. in the morning to schedule a show at 7 a.m. in the morning, I'm like, yeah, nah. Got to sort your shit out. So, yeah. So I went, look, boys, better off doing it on your own. Do it on your own channel. I'll give you a platform here. Yeah. So that's why Thursday Night Live show's not here no more. It's over at the Arse Brothers channel. And Max is there sorting it all out. So that's excellent. And look, as I appreciate Darren's work. When I was sick, he stepped in and hosted the show for us. I appreciate everything he did. So anyway, that's where Thursday Night Live is now. Okay, Tony, Crystal Palace was a game that seems so long ago, mate, but I'm just going to let you have a 30 second or minute talk about it, and then we'll move on to this game.
Yeah, there was a game of football between us and Crystal Palace. It was 0-0. I can't think of anything that happened. Yeah, there you go. It was so long ago. There was just nothing. I can't even think. Like, it was so long ago, and I don't know I can't even remember there being like a glaring chance. You can't say, "Oh, we missed this chance to win it." I mean, the most notable talking point was Tierney being out, and if we'd have done a pod like the day after, would have been, "Oh, is Tierney going to make it next week?" But spoiler, we've just watched the game. Yeah, he did make it next week. So everything that would have been the content after that game has now been answered.
Look, I'm just going to throw a couple of things at you because there isn't a lot to talk about in that game. 0-0 draw. Was that the true case of the game, or is it a game we should have won?
On the performance, I think, yeah, it was a 0-0 game. Either team could have nicked it. Obviously, they had chances on the break. They hit the bar, and I mean, we didn't do too much. It was on them. Yeah, for me, a draw was probably a fair result. And they're the type of games you sometimes see a team either way nick 1-0, and if one does, the other team feels hard done by.
Okay. Let's move on. It's not much on that, but I will just say, in a positive, that was our fifth game undefeated. Going after today is 6 games undefeated.
I know we're 5 clean sheets in a row now in all comps, which is the first time since 2009.
Yeah, right. Wow, that's very good. 2009, you say?
Yep.
Shit, bloody hell. Okay.
If that's wrong, blame the Sky Sports commentators. If that's right, give me all the credit.
Just a couple of comments coming through. Crystal Palace, it was a shit. KT was a miss. Greenett was not man of the match. He was shit and good in the same half. Sums it up, Tony.
He was man of the match by an absolute mile, but apart from that, yeah.
Okay.
I actually put a poll. I put a poll on Twitter just to see, because I mean I didn't speak to anyone that didn't think he was man of the match, but you know how some people are, they just don't like him, and he could, no matter what he'd done, they'd say he was shit. So I just done that to check, and I only looked about an hour later, and he was winning. But then I didn't look after that, so I don't know if there was a big turnaround.
Those who are listening back on the podcast, I'm reading out Why Not Sentiment FC, who is listening via Twitch. Welcome, buddy. Okay, let's get into this next game. It was a victory today against Newcastle United. I posted in the chat, I've been missing a little bit, Schwinn, because I'm like, KT, he's playing, he's in, what's going on? And I thought the injury was a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, and Arteta in a very sneaky manner, just said MRI after the Palace game. And yeah. Before the Palace game, I think what we heard was that it's a muscle tightness issue. And it seemed pretty precautionary. And then suddenly this MRI gets thrown into the mix and everyone's like, wait, what? And then as Tony said, that didn't seem to be any issue before the Palace game. Of course, it was the FA Cup tie that took us into extra time, and that was pretty heavy. But I just feel like it was precautionary, and that wasn't much to worry about to begin with. And good to see him out there today. And once again, I'm sure he'll be in our 3-2-1s, wouldn't he? Bombing down, up and down, and just creating triangles with whoever he sees. Martinelli came in, he was very comfortable with him. Aubameyang, of course. And of course, whenever Smith Rowe drifted towards the left, he's very comfortable with him as well. So turning out to be a fixture as we expect him to be, and proving to be exactly what we need from him.
Tony, when you saw the line out come today, mate, you were pretty impressed?
Yeah, I mean, if I would have wrote or said what I expected before the game, I think the only change would have been Hector for Cedric. Like, as I said, if you said to most people before the game, and look, there's going to be people that say they didn't want X, Y, or Z in there. They don't like Luiz. They don't like Xhaka. They don't like Aubameyang pre this game. But I think in general, most people would have gone with that, maybe bar Gabriel. But it's very hard when you've had so many clean sheets. And the thing is that the clean sheets have coincided with him being out. So I don't know when we last kept one with him in. I think it's probably the Leeds game off the top of my head. Which was in November, and then suddenly he's been out. And I'm not saying it's his fault, but suddenly he's been out, and you're keeping clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. It's quite difficult to bring him back in. I imagine he will play in the FA Cup on Saturday, but as I said, the lineup I expected was that, but Hector instead of Cedric.
I'll be honest, my only one was obviously KT. I was like, oh, okay, well, like most Arsenal fans were. And for me, it showed that Rob Holding and Gabriel will never play together. David Luiz started over Gabriel. It wasn't a shock for anybody, but I thought, well, that kind of cemented everybody's. There'd been questions on Gabriel starting, and Holding has been solid. Can they start together? And obviously, it's not going to happen, Tony.
I disagree. I think, well, I mean, they did play a lot of games together up until Gabriel's suspension and then illness. But it's just, as I said, when we've been that solid and we've kept so many clean sheets. And also, I mean, stylistically, I had a problem with Gabriel anyway for charging out and trying to win the ball and us getting spun. And I think a part of the reason we've been so solid, as stupid as this sounds, is that none of our defenders try and win the ball. That sounds like a criticism, but it's really not. Sometimes for me, the way I would prefer it, holding your shape makes you better than trying to win the ball all the time. And I said earlier in the Telegram chat now, not WhatsApp chat, because Tel's security conscious, that he's got to learn Gabriel's got to learn a lesson that Vermaelen never could. And time will tell. Look, he's obviously good enough. He's obviously got ability. He's obviously got skill set. But top level defenders, its decision making is not all that matters, but the vast majority of your game. And that's, I think, one side of his game that we've seen lacking. On raw ability, he is obviously our best centre back, and I'm not trying to say otherwise. But to get that mentality right and that decision making right, that takes him to a completely different level.
The only other one, Schwinn, people did question Pepe, $72 million winger. Saka has been absolutely brilliant. Aubameyang a little bit wish-washy. Do you? And look, today it's very sad. It's very hard to say that because he got man of the match, and 2 goals. But let's face it, we're all saying the first 30 minutes of that game, wow, Aubameyang really needs to find a bit of form here. I've seen it in the Telegram app. Saka to that side, Pepe starts, or that was the only other one that I kind of seen people moaning about.
Definitely expected Pepe to come on at some point. It was a bit unfortunate not to see any of him, especially towards the tail end of the game. We're comfortable. Newcastle don't really look interested. And just to get him going as well, that's basically what we've done with Aubameyang. But with Alba, it's, he looks, the only moment I felt very comfortable was when he was running at Kraft and he scored his first goal. I was very, very confident that this will end positively for us. But for any other moment in the game, he just looks disinterested. And I want to say the same about David Luiz to an extent, but Luiz, for all his pitfalls, brings something to the team. He had a couple of really good passes that he picked out in today's game. But with Alba, I don't know. The second goal was pretty much all Cedric and Saka. Aubameyang was picked out beautifully by Cedric there. And of course, you have to give some credit there. But Aubameyang just doesn't look himself. He looks a shadow of his former self. And it's good that he's getting on the score sheet. Hopefully this will, get him the momentum he needs. But I don't think Pepe was going to get a nod in front of him anytime soon.
Tony, talking first half, mate, there's not a lot to talk about. We're going half-time 0-0.
I thought we were really good not really good. That's going over the top. I thought we were good for 25 minutes and most players, because I think when you start off watching a game, you're thinking, he's doing well. Like this player's doing well, that player's doing well. And I got to a point about 25 minutes in where I was like, I can name 6 or 7 players that are doing well, and we're still not really created anything. It's still 0-0. And then the second half of the first half, if you like, I thought we were utter shit. Just didn't do anything. Like, okay, shit's probably wrong because we didn't do anything wrong, but we just done absolutely nothing. Like, I looked Twitter at halftime, and I looked in the group chat at halftime. People going, I'm annoyed we didn't nick a goal before the end of the first half because it psychologically makes it so different. And they're right, but we never looked like doing it. I know Luiz missed a header in the 44th minute, but I mean, it came out of absolutely nowhere. It was a corner where Lascelles got blocked off. I think a foul probably would have been given if the goal went in anyway. And but I thought the first 25, obviously we had the Aubameyang miss the open goal, which is a lot harder than it looks. I mean, you still expect them to score, but it's a lot harder chance than it looked. We had a few other chances where people were either just, like, Aubameyang had a few shots, one he put over, another one he put wide. I'm not as worried about how he's playing as other people seem to be. Because for me, he's the type of player that you knew was never really too involved anyway, but he would get his goal. And at the moment, finishing's left him is missing a bit. And I just think that's confidence, because you see the areas of getting in. Like, even before the goals, it's very easy to say he played bad tonight. But in the first half, he had 3 shots that were all presentable chances. And on a good day, with a bit of confidence, 1 definitely, if not 2 of them go in. And nothing changes from the performance. His movement's still the same. His body language is still the same. But he could have gone in at half time with 2 goals. So I'm not too down on it. I agree with the body language, and he does some things that wind me up. Like, he always waits for the ball. He never goes and meets it. But he's always done that, and it's always done my head in. So, like, I can understand why people are, I don't know if pissed off's the right word with him, but for me, I see the same as I've always seen, really, that he's not a fantastic footballer, but he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. And it's very easy to say that today. I mean, first half, I would say he was poor. Second half, I don't think he got any better. He just scored twice.
Look, and I'll go into this goal, obviously, half time we go in and I'm thinking 0-0. I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm looking at that first half and I'm going, I can't see a score. Like, this is how wrong I was. Like, to win this game 3-0, and if you haven't watched it, I do apologise. But I thought this game was going to end 0-0 based on that first half of football. Schwinn, 50th minute, Aubameyang gets the first goal.
I had a similar worry, not going to lie. You just don't know with this team, and goals change games. It's fortunate and to an extent to our credit that we scored that first goal in the way we did, got out very well. I think it was Partey was involved and he was very quick. I think Saka was involved as well, if my memory serves me correctly. And we just gave Aubameyang, quite a bit of space to run into. And at that pace, it's going to be very hard to stop him, especially when you're backpedaling as a defender and a young defender in the Premier League. And at that point, Aubameyang couldn't do much wrong. He just had to find, good pace on the shot, and it would rattle the net. And that's exactly what happened. But if it weren't for all that intricate play, which was, I think, off a Newcastle corner, wasn't it? That goal came about. That involved Saka and Partey, that goal wouldn't have come about, and they were very, very good under pressure there.
Look, it was good to see Aubameyang get his goal. He was very confident too. Like, I think must have been Lacazette, and I thought, is he going to pass to Lacazette? Because if he did, it's going to show he's not. You know what I mean? Like, he's been that far out of form. I'm like, is a player split in 2 minds where he goes, I'm not going to get this, I'm not going to get it, and passes it into Lacazette or whoever was there. Might not have been Lacazette now, I'm just trying to think. But he got it, nailed it, and got the goal. And I thought, here we go. This is Aubameyang. As you said earlier, Schwinn, I hope now this is something that ignites Aubameyang again. I want to see Aubameyang.
We need him too. I mean, the young boys are coming in, and Martinelli's sort of on the fringes, coming in and out, but they cannot possibly take up this load. They can share it, but the bulk of the load has to be picked up by Aubameyang, because Willian and Pepe and Lacazette, well, probably not Lacazette in this list, but Willian and Pepe haven't quite done it, and Lacazette is trying, but we need Aubameyang and back at what he's fully capable of.
Mm-hmm. Tony, you want to talk us through the second goal?
Emile Smith-Rowe, what a guy! Well, I mean, the kid's a joke. It's funny. We broke down the left, and just talk. Obviously, Schwinn just said goals change games, and I thought the only time we ever really looked like scoring in the first half was when they attacked and we countered, because they were overcommitting. And that's obviously, as Schwinn said, our first goal came from their corner, and our second goal was almost a break as well. I thought they were very weak in the middle, and they let us out too easy. Sorry. And Aubameyang picked the ball up on the left, and I'm thinking, like, Emile, go. And he just looked at him. I was thinking, what are you doing? And then it was like, probably later than I expected, he had a brainwave. It was like, oh, I could run here. And Aubameyang's played him in, and he's pissed Lascelles. to be honest, is piss poor defending. I mean, Smith Rowe's done great, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't be that easy. And what I loved is as he was beating Lascelles, and I've got Sky Sports now on mute, they just showed a replay of it. As he's going past Lascelles, he's heads up the whole time. And obviously, so he knows where everyone is, picks out the ball, and easy finish for Saka. Gives the keeper no chance. But it's just that risk taken. And again, I've mentioned it time and time again with Smith Rowe running off the ball. As I said, I thought he took too long to do it there, but still, he made a forward run off the ball, which no one else really does. And then committing a defender and going at a defender. I mean, before, say 3 weeks ago, we just never saw anyone go at defenders. They'd turn around and play the safe ball backwards to probably Tierney in that position, who'd try and cross the ball to Saka against two centre backs, and it just end up messy. And just that initiative to go and run at a defender, I mean, changes everything.
Mm-hmm. And look, it was all. I know you touched on how good Smith Rowe was, but it was out of nothing. Like there was nothing on, and he created. Well, not even create, just took the player on, just did it all so good. It was just great to watch. It really was.
Well, I said it's that bravery to go at someone, which I don't know if it's kind of like the arrogance of youth or the confidence that we've been playing with, because I mean Emil's always been like that. But as I said, how many times have we just seen people take the safe option where he's got the ball, he saw the defender and thought, fuck you, I'm going at you. And look, if he loses it there, you probably get a corner, or worst case, he gets tackled and then they come out with the ball, but then 90 yards from goal. It's like the risk versus reward is so strong, which is what annoys me when our players don't do it. And I know he does it in a different style, but I think that's one of the things that we most love about Gabby, is that his energy is so strong. If he gets the ball one-on-one like that, you know he's going at the player. And as I said, I think Smith Rowe's selection is very good. He knows when to go at a player and when to play a simple pass, and then also when to try the difficult pass. I think his footballing brain is unreal. And look, I mean, I'm obviously massively bigging him up, but I've been doing that for 2 years because I've seen it even at lower levels that still picking the right option, when to shoot, when to pass, when to run at a player. That doesn't really change with levels. Like you could be playing in reserve games and you could still, if you're not the type of person that can see the right option, you're probably never going to be. And that's just more what we need. As I said, his timing and his decision making is, I don't want to say perfect because obviously there's room for him to improve, but it's streets ahead. I think pretty much every other player we've got.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely one. And as a few people were saying in our chat, sign this kid up for a lifetime contract because he's something special. Schwinn, couple of people moaning, mate. And then he comes on for party. And the reason they were moaning because they wanted a 5-0 result. Mate, I thought it was a good substitution myself.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was just to, rotate the squad and just make sure Partey doesn't come off injured. He's also getting embedded back in slowly. And I think it's just man management to an extent. Elneny hasn't featured in a bit either, has he? So it's also giving him some game time, I think. So I have no issues with that at all.
You know what I like about Elneny is he doesn't care. And I think one of the commentators said it actually, and that's where I picked it up from. So he doesn't care whether he plays 9 minutes or 90 minutes. Like he is just happy go chappy bloke, just seems like a happy bloke in the change room. Everybody seems to love him, and he just has that vibe about him where I'm a happy bloke. Like,
proper team player.
Yeah,
he was quite good today too. Especially, I remember there was an instance where Newcastle were trying to rob us of possession right in the middle of the park, and it was a bit congested there. And Granit was in the mix. Martinelli was sort of floating about. And we were doing really well to contain possession there as Newcastle pressed us, and Elneny was very smartly moving the ball around, even when we were being pressed in our own box. When Newcastle tried to get something out of the game, at least a consolation, Elneny very confident in the ball, moving it swiftly. So the man does a job, and as you said, he's very happy doing whatever job is asked of him. So if he keeps maintaining this, then he could definitely play a role in this side.
I think his role, like I like him for what he did today. Come on in the 67th minute, we're up 2-0, bring him on, give Partey a rest. You know what I mean? Like I know 2-0 is dangerous against a Chelsea or a Man United or a Liverpool or something, or even a City now. But like against these kind of teams, this is where Elneny fits into this squad. I think he's not like he's not a first team starter week in week out like he was. And I understand Partey was injured, but this is where I like Elneny. I like him playing this kind of role within the squad.
I'd have to agree. I'll just quickly say that in an ideal scenario, I feel I would want a player coming up the ranks to be playing that role. But in the short term, at least, I feel like he's one of those few players in the squad whose role and position is nailed down. And on both sides of the coin, the club and the player are in alignment on what is expected of him. And I feel that's a very good position to be in. But ideally, I feel I would, rather nurture a player coming through the ranks to take up that role. But Elneny has a place in the squad under Mikel Arteta for sure.
Tony, talk us through the second goal, buddy. For our third goal from Aubameyang. Second goal.
Yeah. Really good play between Cedric and Saka. I thought Cedric was very good the whole game, to be fair. And his touch is a bit heavy, obviously, as he gets in behind. Did it go off? Did it not go off? Very, very tight. I think it was just about still on. And then one of the best things about him is his delivery or picking men out. I don't think he rarely puts crosses in just for the sake of putting crosses in. He tends to be aiming for a man and gets it in the region of that man. And he's fired it in Aubameyang, and Aubameyang scored. And again, Aubameyang's finish is that he has to score it, and he does. But it's harder than it looks because Cedric fires that in, and Aubameyang makes sure he keeps it down by knocking it into the ground. But yeah, easy goal. I mean, you lot have just been praising Elneny, and I agree, he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, Newcastle had completely given up by that point. I think after it went 2-0, us three could have played. Like, Newcastle didn't give a shit. And I think that played a part in the third goal. I mean, it was Cedric ran off his man and everyone just watched him. Even he's basically in the 6-yard box and no one's gone to engage him. He's taken a heavy touch. No one's even within 2 yards of him. And then he's picked out his man and we've got the goal.
Yeah, look, it was pretty basic goal, wasn't it? Oh, well, it was good from Cedric, like, to hit that like you did. But he didn't have to do much. I get what you mean. It is harder than you think because that ball is coming at you, but it was pretty much just a block and direct it.
Oh yeah, look, he has to score. I'm not saying worldy finish and that's a chance someone else wouldn't have taken, but that's one of them that goes down as a tap in, and you're like, they're not as easy. As I said, I mean, obviously the one he missed was harder. That one in the first half, again, you'd expect him to score, but it's nowhere near as easy as it looked. And as I said, it's the same with the goal. He has to score. There's no going, if he misses, going, but it was difficult. But it's not as easy as his goal against them in the cup the other week was much easier, for example.
I just want to touch quickly on, there was a Lacazette chance. I've got written in notes, but and only come about because somebody said he should have got that. I think it was one on a header, and I thought it wasn't an easy one. Do you boys remember that on the far post?
Yeah, I think Saka floated a ball. I think it was the second half. Aubameyang and Lacazette both far post. There was also, I think, a shot that Lacazette had from inside the box that forced a save from Darlow. And as well, Cedric found him out really well in the first half, I think. And Lacazette's touch, although the idea was correct, just around the defender, but I think the touch was a bit too heavy and the ball went into touch. For a goal kick. So Lacazette could have done better, but he worked hard, I thought. And I mean, that's the standard right now, right? That he worked hard, so he was okay. But that's not what we expect from our number 9, do we?
No, not at all. I got nothing. I can't say about Lacazette had a bad game. I thought he had a good game. He was running the channels. I thought he was putting pressure on. Like, I know pressure's not something you want to see, but it's making the defenders think on where where he's going, because when you've got Granite and Party, you've got Luiz, who all can play a massive long ball and right on target. Like, you could even throw Saka in there as well with his crosses. Like, when you've got a striker in Lacazette, any striker running the channels, it's creating something. So I'm okay with that. Like, I know what you mean though. Like, but I think
he's really benefiting from the inclusion of the youngsters, because the technical level for these academy kids is quite high, and they're very comfortable playing in tight positions. Lacazette also enjoys that, and to an extent has the ability to play in those positions. He uses his body well, has that odd flick pass in him that he'll execute well enough. Before we included these young players into the starting 11, I think most of these really, really tight situations were towards the wing. And at that time, the team became too fragmented. Now I think we're moving around a bit more. We're more in the half space and central areas when it comes to this, for lack of a better term, this tiki-taka. And Lacazette, he's quite selfless, I think. And I think we should give him credit for that. He's happy to combine and cause an overload in one position so that the likes of, Aubameyang or whoever's playing on the right wing can jump in, and have a one-on-one and then capitalize on that opportunity. So he is also a team player. It's just that he's not a typical number 9, and what we expect from him perhaps has to be also adjusted a little bit.
Your thoughts on Lacazette today, Tony?
He's dropped out, hasn't he?
He's gone. Okay, I'm just going to touch on a couple of comments coming through while we wait for Tony. Hemi says, hey, how are you, Hemi? Russ, evening chaps. How are we, Russ? Coming through on YouTube. Getting a couple come through on Twitch, which is really good. Brian says he's on YouTube. Hey, guys, Bemery's like a new signing. Hopefully he will kick on for the next big game. Hopefully he does. And the Digital Busker. How are you, mate? And welcome. He's coming on Twitch. Great podcast as usual. Okay, Tony. You dropped out there, buddy, but I just wanted your take on Lacazette today, mate.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. I think there was times where he sort of was dropping back into, I want to say old Lacazette. It was only a month ago, where he was taking too many touches at times. But I think where the inclusion of the young guys, I heard most of Schwinn's answer and him saying they can play in tight spaces. I think the difference is that they're running off him. So it gives him like a 360 option of playing. The ball's rolled into him and he can knock it back. He can knock it wide. He can also knock it forward if he can turn and spin or find the ball. And I think that's made a huge difference. Whereas earlier in the season, with no one running in behind, it was like it went into Lacazette and he could only play 180 really. He could go left or right or back, and it was just not as it was a lot more difficult for him, and that led to him taking too many touches, and then he did inevitably lose the ball, and it becomes his fault. I mean, like, okay, the argument's always there. He didn't have the options, but when the ball's rolled into a striker and he takes 8 touches and then gets tackled, you first moan that it's too slow, and then you moan that he's lost the ball. So you kind of forget that it might actually be other people's fault. But I think with people running off him, Saka, Aubameyang to an extent, Tierney massively, and obviously Smith Rowe, it's helped him. I mean, with his chances today, I thought that the save from Darlow was unbelievable. I don't think Lacazette could have done any more. I think the ball even went through the defender's leg. So even if he'd have put it more towards the corner, it probably would have been blocked. I think he's really unlucky there. The header, I thought he probably should have left, to be honest. But you don't, obviously, it's easy watching on TV. You don't know if Aubameyang was shouting at him. He might not have even known Aubameyang was there. And I'm not saying Lacazette's header was bad. I just thought Aubameyang was it was a bit too high for Lacazette. Whereas if he leaves it and Aubameyang's in behind it, it opens up the whole goal. And was there another chance you guys were mentioning? What was that? Yeah, I think that was it.
I think that was the only one, mate. Yeah, it was the Lacazette. I've seen a few people moaning about it. For me, I thought, fuck, it's hard. Like, wow, like he's a shorter guy, Lacazette. So it was. I thought it was hard. People love.
Aubameyang was behind him, so the ball was naturally dropping because gravity exists. And I just think it opened. Lacazette, literally, it was near impossible for him to go back across goal. And anything back across goal there goes in because the keeper's obviously committing himself that side. Whereas if he leaves it, Aubameyang, it would have been very easy to go back across. But as I said, if Aubameyang's not screaming his head off, which he should have been, but we don't know, it'd be interesting to see if anyone listened to it without stadium effects on and they could hear, because Aubameyang should be screaming his head off, and Lacazette leaves it, and Aubameyang gets a very easy chance. But I can't blame Lacazette for going for it.
No, I had no qualms with Lacazette today. I thought he was solid. I had no dramas there for me.
He's done really well for. I was just saying, he done really well for a Saka chance where Saka probably should have scored. It was a good block. I think it was a throw in, and then Saka rolled it into Lacazette, who held and then flicked it on. And then Saka, it was just after we went 1-0. Saka was on about the penalty spot, and he could have gone either way. And defenders got a good block in. It was Kraft again. Got a good block in, but I thought Saka should have done better. But that was where you see the strength of Lacazette, especially when, as I said, he's got people running off him rather than people giving him the ball and then just standing still.
The digital busker, Cedric or Bellerin? Tony?
Look, you've got to go Bellerin, because this has been one Cedric performance. I don't ever think he's been bad for us. I think he's got a lot of harsh criticism, unfair criticism. But after one game where he wasn't challenged defensively at all, so he had the freedom of the right wing to get forward and put them crosses in without ever really having to worry. I mean, he must have had a field day when he saw he was making his first Premier League start of the season, and he looks at Newcastle team sheet and they've got Joel Linton on the left wing. He must have thought, thank fuck for that. He was very good, and I really rate him. Anyone that's listened to us for a long time knows I wanted us to sign him 2-3 years ago. So I do rate him, but I think it'd be very easy for me to say, Cedric, because he was great today and Hector's had some poor games. But I think it'd be very unfair to say to Hector, he was better last week, so he's now better than you.
Schwinn,
your thoughts? Probably agree with that.
Yeah, but I'd also just add that it's a good problem to have. I mean, the origin, the sentiment behind the question is good, and it's a good problem for the manager to have. We also have the FA Cup this weekend, so after that, I think we play within 3 days of that game. So we'll need some rotation. So it's good that players are picking up some form, and it's games like this that help do that. So I can see the benefit of picking someone like Cedric, getting his legs warm for some of the rotations that's going to be upon us soon.
I just come across a picture, but anyway, I'll explain that later. Silent Cal 18 says he's buzzing, lads, and love it. It's great. It's really good to be an Arsenal fan at the moment. We have been through some rough times. The start of this season wasn't as great as we all anticipated it was going to be. We thought, Party coming in, we had great expectations, and it had been a bit of a downer. I don't care what people say. 6 games undefeated, and I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm still. Don't get me wrong. I'm still looking at Arteta as a manager. I'm hoping. Well, not I'm hoping. I see he's learning on the run. For me, he just.
You still want Big Sam?
I'm not. No, I don't.
This is gonna follow you forever. You realize this, right? This is your Alexis Sanchez winning the Golden Boot.
Fuck me. But no, you got to call it as it is, boys. And people will go, oh, look, he was Arteta out. He was Arteta. It wasn't the fact I was Arteta out. It was I was seeing nothing happening. Like I wasn't even seeing results. I wasn't seeing any changes on the pitch. And I'm still a little bit worried, and I'm gonna. I'll be honest. When I seen Willian come on for Aubameyang in the 79th minute as a substitute, I thought, "Fuck, really? Here we go." And obviously, Martinelli did come on in the 82nd minute. For me, I was hoping it was going to be Martinelli for Aubameyang. I'm not bothered by any of the substitution. Holy fuck, we just won 3-0 against Newcastle United, who we drew in the FA Cup. Was it FA Cup? Yeah. Well, last week. But, so I wasn't overly worried with that. I was worried about Willian all of a sudden coming back into this team. And, look, let's face it, boys, he's just not fucking good. He's just not. He's not. he's not that player he was at Chelsea. So I don't want him nowhere near this team. If anything, I was hoping a couple of rumours were true that we were looking to fucking get rid of him. That's my worry with the Arteta thing. It's not the Arteta out thing. Anyway, Schwinn.
Yeah, with Willian, it's so hard. It's so strange, you know. I mean, it's like he just went off a cliff in the off season. You know, most Chelsea fans would tell you that he was one of their better players last season, if not their best player last season. And to see him perform like this, he looks scared at times. And you know, the only time I watch him sprinting is when he's under pressure and he's sprinting back towards our own goal because he's trying to find an open pass that he can find someone back there. And it's very, very strange to watch him play. I just don't know what's going on.
It's cringeworthy. It really is. And Arteta just has this. Look, people go, it wasn't an Arteta signing, it was an Edu signing. Arteta didn't really want him. You know, that was one of the things being tossed around a couple of weeks ago. Fuck a lot of shit. Fuck off. Arteta and Edu, they're talking, man. You can't tell me they're not. He's available for free. Obviously, Arteta's probably gone. We haven't got many funds. We've got this amount of money. We're going to try and bring Partey in, which we did. Yeah, I want this Willian on a free, so I'm going to play him. And I don't know whether it's, you know, when you're the boss and you make a decision and you don't want to be wrong. That's what I feel Arteta's doing with Willian. I don't want to be wrong because it's going to look like egg on my face. So I'm forced to play him. I don't know. I could be wrong, but when I've seen him come on.
Look, it's impossible for me to say that that's not the case at all. Maybe that is an element to it, right? But there's also the fact that he's been a very good player in the Premier League up until the end of last season. And he's probably a 20 goals plus assists in a season sort of player, right? That costs a lot of money in the market right now. And that's money that we probably don't want to spend because it's going to cost us a lot to get someone like that who's ready to drop into the team and give you that output. If you can get that from within your own team, that would be ideal. And it's just that his confidence in Willian, you know, those 20 odd minutes, or if it's a game in the FA Cup, those are not paying dividend. You know, usually you just have to play through the rut. And with Willian, the rut seems to be getting worse. And that's the troubling bit, that he just isn't seeming to pick up any form at all.
Nah, I'll be wondered if he comes on against Southampton. Well, we take on them in next week, and not come on if he starts for Southampton. I can't see him dropping a Aubameyang or Saka, but it just when it's his player, I just think.
Just to cut in, we've got them in the cup first, and then in the league. So I'd imagine he starts in the cup. We've got the cup Saturday, and then I think the league's Tuesday or Wednesday. So I know you say you can't see him dropping a Aubameyang or Saka, but obviously a cup's a different beast. I think Aubameyang only played in the last round because they wanted to get him his goals. He obviously got one, and then he's got two today. So I think Aubameyang will probably be rested on Saturday. And I think we'll probably see the likes of Pepe and Willian and whatnot, probably Martinelli. What's interesting, obviously, both games against Southampton, and their squad's quite small and quite injury hit. So I wouldn't be surprised if Southampton fuck off the FA Cup. Obviously, well, it might not be Southampton. Sorry, they're playing a rearranged game tomorrow, so it could be Shrewsbury. But either way, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Southampton fuck off the FA Cup just because they're doing well in the league. You've got to say they're in the hunt for Europe, and their squad's not the biggest, and they've got a few long-term injuries or a few just coming back from injury. So we'll see.
Yeah, Russ just said, I can't believe Willian is still getting minutes above Pepe. That's another one. I didn't even throw him into the mix. But, it's almost, I don't know, Tony, your thoughts on it, buddy, because it's almost like Arteta has to play him because it's his player.
Look, I kind of agree with what Schwinn said. I think he's got to try and play him into form. You can't just completely fuck him off and write him off, especially if he's on big money. When better time than 3-0 up with 12 minutes to go or whatever it was against a team that clearly don't give a shit anymore. I thought it was, personally, I would have brought Pepe on just because I like him more. But I think, if anyone watching a game up until that point, Smith Rowe was fucked. So he was obviously going to come off within minutes, and then it makes sense because if you bring Pepe on for Aubameyang and then bring William on for Smith Rowe, one, you don't get any Martinelli any minutes, which is what we need because let's be honest, Martinelli's above them both at the moment, and two, you end up with Pepe on the left, which you don't really want. It's not where he plays. So if you'd have done a double sub, I don't think people would have moaned too much. I just think because that sub came first, it's like, oh, where's Pepe? And I thought the same. I'm not like, when he come on, I was like, oh, I would prefer Pepe. But if you look at the grand plan or the grand scheme of things, it was probably the right sub because you're not going to see anything out of Pepe in 12 minutes on the left. Just gonna do anything really. Says you're on mute.
May help if you unmute the cunt. You boys want to talk about anything else in that game before we get to our 3-2-1?
Nope.
Okay. Don't be scared to answer, boys. Jump in. Okay, Tony, give us your 3-2-1, buddy.
All three, yeah?
Yeah, might as well. Yep.
3 Smith Rowe. I'm ridiculously biased, but I thought in the first half he was the best player on the pitch comfortably. Second half, maybe not so much, but then done worked wonders for the second goal. So I'm going to go Smith Rowe. 2. You know what? On the whole performance, I'm going to go Cedric. I don't think he put a foot wrong. I thought he put in some really good crosses. Defensively, wasn't tested, so didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I saw someone say the only thing they can hold against him was a foul throw, and obviously, giving away a foul throw is not ideal. But I mean, I'm not going to mark anyone down for that. And then 1, I'm going to go Aubameyang just for the criteria. He got the 2 goals. If you're asking,
I was going to say, like, surely you've got to go in.
yeah. Look, I mean, if you're asking me, if it was like performance-wise, he probably wouldn't be in the top 8. But goals win games and goals change games. And as Schwinn said earlier, that game at 1-0 became a completely different game from 0-0. So I'm going to give it to Aubameyang just because he basically had a match-winning contribution. I feel really not bad, but I think Partey is really hard done by here, not getting in. But it is what it is for me. So they're my 3-2-1s and just an honourable. I mean, a load of players played well. I don't think that was a bad performance. But they get my 3-2-1.
Schwinn?
Wow, very different ones. For me, 3 would be Granit. I thought he was untouchable. Didn't put a foot wrong in the game. Made a couple of really good challenges. Even against Palace, I thought he was very good. So maybe some of that is creeping in here because the 2 games are a bit of a blur, if I'm perfectly honest. But I thought he was very, very good. And we're seeing him come back to his best. I think he's finding, he's turning out to be a bit different than what we've seen of him so far. A lot more composed. His head's moving a lot more too.
For 3 years, mate.
Yeah, but you were wrong back then. Now you're right. But really, it really has been transformational, I feel, and it's not easy to come back. Of course, the fans not being there is helpful, but it's not easy to come back after an incident like that, and to have the manager, continue investing faith in you. So I thought he was very good. 2, I'll go with Emile Smith Rowe for all the reasons Tony mentioned, including the bias. And 1, Kieran Tierney.
Nice. Yeah, it's very hard, isn't it? When you win 3-0 and you see little things of players that are just brilliant, like Smith Rowe. Like, wow. But he doesn't get my 3. Like, I'm with you, Schwinn, in Granite, and I don't want to be the Granite lover or whatnot here, but like, watch what he does. Like, you don't. I can't say you don't win that game without Granite, or you don't score them goals without Granite. But that team and them balls and them the players built around him is what, for me, is what I'm watching. Like, choices on a pitch, and what he did is like, okay. What did he do? He got no assists. He got no goals. But it's the other stuff that you're not probably seeing. Like, I haven't looked at his stats. I haven't had a chance to look at any heat maps or anything because we are recording straight after this game. But I just watch the little things in players, and yeah, okay, the Smith Rowe, he got that goal, he got that assist brilliantly. He went round that. I can't remember what was the name of the player. He went round him, beautiful. And Smith Rowe for me gets my 2 points for everything Tony said, but. That was the reason why I've gone Gradant 3, Smith Rowe 2, is because Smith Rowe was great, and I agree with what Tony said, but there was probably only a couple of great things from Smith Rowe for me. Like the assist was one, it was the couple of wow factors with Smith Rowe. Cedric, the wow factor in his assist, I was like, wow, and Partey, and it was so split, but I have to go Saka. For the one. This kid is it's just wow. It's a wow moment, this kid. Like I just get like, I enjoy watching him. I don't know. He's becoming my favourite player at the moment. Like, I just enjoy watching Saka play.
Yeah, there's nothing he cannot do.
Yeah, it's just I think every game, I've gone, wow. Like, every time I watch him, it's wow. Fuck.
It's amazing how many times he comes on top out of duels. You see someone double his size, battling for the ball, and he'll just wriggle out of that situation. He's very, very educated with his feet. Just quickly on Granit, Tony's always given him a lot of credit for making very good fouls, and I completely agree with him. One thing I've noticed that he's been doing now is, the moment before he chooses to foul, which is the decision to be made whether to engage a player or not, especially when the other team is on the break. And I feel he's become a lot more sensible in choosing to engage or not, first of all. And secondly, whether he should just delay or bring down the player in an event to try and stop the break. And I think that is because he has a better view of the pitch now. He's scanning the pitch a lot more. He's moving into space after moving the ball a lot more, I've noticed. And it just, as you said, Tez, we may still have won the game, but I don't think we would have controlled the game in the areas we did without him. Elneny can come in and do that job. We'll just be 20 yards, further back.
Yeah. Well,
And
I just had a
that
quick look at his stats because, like I said, I was sitting there. I usually have a look after games anyway at all the players' different stats and things. So there's 102 passes that he made. 95 of them was successful. And
similar to Palace, I think that was 99 out of 110, if I'm not wrong. I remember checking that up as well.
But the other thing is, and I don't want to keep blowing this boy's trumpet, but I think it was about 80% of them were going forward.
And that's the switch we've seen recently, right? That he's a lot more progressive. Recently, not very far back even, right? There was so much criticism for just moving the ball around lazily, but that's not the case anymore, as you just pointed out.
Yeah, it's like, and that's the reason for me. Like, okay, goals do win games. Assists are great to watch. But, like, if you're not moving the ball around and creating stuff for them other players, well, you don't get them goals. You don't get them assists.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that what we saw from today's game is by no means, we're not trying to exaggerate what we saw because it was low level opposition at the end of the day. Newcastle are really struggling right now. But it's good for these things to happen, and the mentality changes, the muscle memory changes. The more you see those forward passes coming off, the more inclined you are to play them. And it's if you won't practice those against these teams, then when it comes to some of the better opposition, you'll struggle completely.
I'm just going through here, a couple of more questions.
I'll just go quickly on the forward passes. He's got people in front of him. It's simple. Look. Granit's passing ability, I don't think has ever been in question, or it shouldn't have been. It probably has, but it shouldn't have been.
Oh, that definitely has.
When you're trying to pick there's one man and three defenders around him, and you're basically trying to pick a Hail Mary pass, and it doesn't come off, them numbers are not going to look good, and they're not memorable. Now, you look up, and Partey played slightly ahead of him today. Then Aubameyang's always going to be ahead of him. Smith Rowe is ahead of him. Saka doesn't stay wide, so he's an option because he can come short to get the ball. Then you've got obviously Lacazette, and you've got overlapping fullbacks, especially against a team like Newcastle, because the fullbacks can go and they can both go at the same time, especially if Granit's sitting deeper next to the two centre backs. So I think a lot of it's down to system and options. The one thing I've been really impressed by, and it's a strange one because I think I don't want to say luck, but I wouldn't say it's a change in ability. I just think he's having a bit of a purple patch with it. The amount of times he's won the ball back recently is insane. And look, sometimes they're off his own losses, but he's still going and getting it back. I mean, I know against Palace, I saw the stat after, I think it was 66 minutes. He'd recovered the ball more times than any of our players had in a single game since, I think they said like 2014 or something. And that was after 66 minutes. Like, it was just, I don't want to say crazy, but he had one today where I think Almiron was going to break and he just stuck a leg out and kept it. And he done that to Zaha. He's not doing it to shit players. It's not. You can't just say, it's Newcastle or it's Palace, because he was nicking it back off players that, I mean, Zaha can beat anyone and beat them 3 or 4 times and make them look stupid. Even today, there was a time when they had a bit of a counter-attack early on. Almiron ran past Tierney and then Partey didn't quite make it to the tackle. And Granit's covering what run with Wilson just made that ball impossible. And he ended up going wide to Carroll, and basically all momentum died. Carroll came back to him and he put it in the upper tier. But just, I think his play's been a lot more sensible. But what I'm a bit hesitant with is he's not going to be that good at winning the ball back all the time. Or making
maybe not. Right. I see where you're coming from, but this could be a change of the Granite too, like from them.
Zero chance. I hope it is. Of course, I hope it is.
Yeah, but I know.
There's zero chance.
You're playing devil's advocate. You're playing devil's advocate.
I'm saying he was good, but what I'm worried about is that it's not. I don't think it's something he's going to be consistent with. The passing's always going to be consistent. That's one of them. I kind of expect the numbers you've just given. I kind of expect. Like, other people don't, and I fully accept that because they just think he's shit. But I don't think he's shit. And them numbers, that I didn't raise an eyebrow. I was like, oh, okay.
I'll go. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. The other thing I'll go through, and I just had a quick look at all the stats actually for today. Attacking third passes. So Granite topped the list, 25 out of 31. And then you go into take-ons, like we spoke about take-ons. Granite topped that list, 3 from 3. And then you go on ball recoveries. Granite topped that list, 15. And these are
the recoveries are the numbers I'm interested in, and that's what I'm saying. For me, he's been the last 2 weeks. I mean, Palace, he was unbelievable, but I can't see that number keeping up. And as I said, I hope it does.
I hope it does. Yeah.
That's the number. That's the only, not the only thing, but that's the thing that impresses me. As I said, the passes don't pique my interest at all. But 15 ball recoveries is an insane number.
Yeah, crazy. Just trying to look who was Holding was 10, Partey was 9, Smith Rowe 8, and then Anyway.
That's a crazy number for Smith Rowe as well, considering how high up he played.
It is actually, because it is. Okay, boys, go through a couple of these. Can
I just quickly I'm interested to hear your answers actually, and then obviously anyone listening can type theirs. Who do you think's got a higher ceiling, Saka or Smith Rowe?
Saka.
Yeah, I'd say Saka.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think they could both be.
Oh, you don't know the answer.
Well, there's no answer.
I'm only fucking with you. Rowan says you guys doing the 3-2-1 for the Palace game. I was expecting you to go big rant on Smith Rowe, to be honest. I thought, here we go, he's going to talk up Smith Rowe for the next half an hour, but all you did was just agree with us.
Huh?
Do you want to do 3-2-1 for Palace game? I got nothing. So Granite.
All I can remember. Well, all I'm going to do is go on. I can't because I'm using it on my phone. But if you go on the poll we done on Twitter, whoever the 3 I put there were my top 3, with Granite being top. I can't remember who the other 2 were.
Okay, we'll run with that then. Run with that because I don't remember it. Rick says Smith Rowe, Partey, and Holding for him. For his 3-2-1. Okay.
Holding's been quietly good for a while now.
I don't want to say it, but ever since that fucking day, Darren said he was Tony Adams, I was like, oh, fucking hell. is going to come back to bite me, and there it is. Rick says, hope Granite keeps playing well. We can get more money for him in the summer. Fuck off, Rick. We're not selling him, mate. We need him. He's too valuable, buddy. He's worth 100 million, Rick. What are you on about? Okay, boys. That's that game wrapped up. Before we get into a couple of questions, I'm going to just play this, but we're going to talk a bit of Ozil. So stick around.
For Gooners everywhere, this is the ultimate football app for you. For match highlights, interviews, and the best Arsenal videos and podcasts. Download the free Gunners app now from the App Store and Google Play.
Okay, Schwinn, this is your time to shine, mate. He is the most controversial player Arsenal has had. 7.5 years. We signed him for a shitload of money. We put him on a massive contract. And it looks like this chapter is done in the Arsenal. Ozil is gone.
Seems like it. Not official yet by Arsenal, but seemingly it's done. And I think we're just waiting on the medical and some formalities to announce it. But yeah, end of an era. Sad end to an era. Of course, I think we all remember. It's one of those instances where I think we remember where we were when it got announced, and of course there were celebrations outside the Emirates as it was being announced, and it was very symbolic for us to bring in Mesut Ozil. You know, highly touted after the World Cup, goes to Real Madrid, does really well there, manages to fit into a team of Galacticos, and actually starts for quite a few games there, and is integral to the squad. And for us to break the bank in the manner we did, and to bring him was more of nostalgia, perhaps, towards a return of success that we had envisioned for Arsenal after moving to the Emirates. That dream, of course, has not transpired, and that is perhaps the reason that there is a lot of division around Mesut Ozil. Look, in a nutshell, 254 games for the Arsenal, 44 goals, 77 assists. Not the return that you would expect from him, especially after his contract extension. And I would agree with you. I think his stint at the club has been lukewarm. I don't think I would classify him as a legend. That anyway term gets thrown around pretty loosely. But what I think I can unequivocally state is that he is one of the most beautiful footballers to watch. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is because he's very different. You know, there's not a lot of footballers like him, and in that uniqueness is that beauty. And second is because of the moments he has produced. We of course remember his audacious chip, which is not even a chip because he sort of hits it into the ground. The no-look passes, the ability to find players behind him somehow, and just always know where to find space instinctively. There's a few tweets that I've found from my timeline that I've saved, which I think are worth reading out. Since the start of detailed data collection in all of Europe's top 5 leagues, Mesut Ozil has created more chances than any other player in the world, and that stood at 1,033 at that point. This is some old data; it's from 2018, but still not very old. Ozil provided an assist every 2.71 games in the Premier League, which is again the best in the history of the Premier League. Second is Eric Cantona at 2.79. Mesut Ozil's career involvement in goals is at 0.55 per match, which is better than Eden Hazard, who is at 0.58, Christian Eriksen at 0.54, and David Silva at 0.54, who are just shyly better than him. The words that have been spoken about by managers, we all know, there's glowing references before his time at Arsenal, and some have even poured out since his time at the Arsenal and since he's won the World Cup. But even when he's not been playing for the Arsenal, he continues to be included in some of the more creative stats out there. He's created more chances. Only Nicolas Pepe has created more chances than him since he's been benched. Since the return of the league, I think it was. In a nutshell, it's not been great. I don't particularly feel sad that he's left, if I'm honest. It's the right thing to do. I'm glad we've been able to find an agreement. I think the only distaste in my mouth is how we treated him, how perhaps he treated us to an extent as well, and that it has come to an end in the manner it has. I think we all could probably agree that after the extension was when things went sour. But at that time, it was the right thing to do, especially with Alexis Sanchez leaving the club. And that's sort of what stitched us up. And that's just bad management. I don't put that on Mesut. I put that on the club. And some other things that happened as well. I'm sure there's some shared responsibility. I'm just glad this chapter is over, to be honest. I'm sure we all are feeling a bit of fatigue from it and from this rant. But I'm just glad it's over and we can move on peacefully.
I'm going to ask you some questions soon, but I'm just going to get Tony's thoughts on everything with Ozil and how things have gone. And are we glad, obviously everyone's glad the chapter's closed. So, Tony, your thoughts on everything, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to start off by saying I think it's best for all involved that it's ended, and it seems pretty amicable, which for a long time it didn't seem like it would. And maybe it isn't behind the scenes, but at least as of now, we've not seen it much spillover from that. It's very difficult. I mean, the man came when we hadn't won anything for ages, and he's leaving with 4 FA Cup winners' medals. Okay, when he signed, we wanted titles in Champions League. Obviously, we were still in the Champions League at that point, and that's not happened. So, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. There was times he was sensational, and I think Schwinn touched on it when he said he was the most beautiful player to watch. And I think there was times where watching him bring more enjoyment than the numbers you're ever going to remember. I mean, the amount of times I've said I thought he was amazing, but he won't be remembered because there was no goals or no assists. And I've always said I think he's judged on a different metric to everyone else because of his reputation as the assist king and whatnot. Because then you go, if he doesn't get an assist, so people bring up the chances created and they go, oh yeah, but what's that worth? But I mean, that's him creating a chance and him getting an assist are the same thing on his point of view. It's just what the other person done. I mean, what year was it? The Leicester year. I don't know what year it was in terms of numbers, but I mean, he nearly dragged us to the title himself. And had Giroud not gone on a barren run and then Alexis gone a bit quiet towards the end of the year, we probably would have won the league. And there would be no criticism of Ozil forever because of that year, and he would have won Player of the Year. I mean, that year he was, you could argue, Mahrez, but if we win the league and Leicester don't, and remembering we come second, Ozil gets Player of the Year ahead of Mahrez. But obviously, if my aunt was my uncle should have a cock. Ifs and buts. I mean, the contract extension, can't blame him. It was offered, he took it. And yeah, things went downhill from there. Emery obviously didn't fancy him for whatever reason. Arteta did massively at the start, built the team around him, played him in every game. Even when he was resting players, he still made sure he had someone like Ozil in there to keep the ball and keep us ticking. Obviously, fitness levels weren't an issue because he would still play him when. So I remember we played Arteta's first few games was Bournemouth away, Chelsea home, Man United home, Leeds home in the FA Cup. And I think Ozil played pretty much every minute of all of them games. So you can't say work rate was an issue. You can't say fitness was an issue. Whatever happened when the break for COVID happened. Obviously, we don't know what's happened behind the scenes. I will never believe it's for footballing reasons, but it is what it is. I mean, I know Schwinn just said he looks back at it being lukewarm, or I'm going to go, it wasn't great. It wasn't fantastic. I mean, for me, it was good, above average, his time as a whole. And I don't know, maybe it's different because there's a lot of memorable moments and I just enjoy watching him play. I know I've said it, I mean, I'm not comparing the two because there's obviously they're completely different levels, but I remember watching a game recently and I said in the group chat, I'm not sure if Dani Ceballos is really good or just really fucking good to watch, and they are two different things. And Ozil was like that. I mean, he could do nothing for 90 minutes and then he would do a touch or a little turn and you just think this guy plays differently to everyone else. And in a modern game, different doesn't fit. And I think that's been his downfall. But I think I'll always look back fondly. But yeah, I mean, it should have been so much better. But I'm not going to be super negative about it.
Okay. Yeah, look, it's a sad time, isn't it? It's some. I just reading Russ there. He says it's sad how it panned out, and it really is. It's sad how it panned out. I thought, like, how do you, and we said it so many times here. How do you keep a player like under the Emery era, then Arteta, and just throws him out? Like, but no disrespect on anyone. £350,000 a week was the rumoured fee, the rumoured wage he was on, and like I look at that and I think, well, hey, it's not my money. I don't really give a fuck. I look at Arsenal and I go, well, I don't really care what you pay any player, because at the end of the day, it's not my business and it's not my club. As a fan, I'm here to support the team on the paddock. So I think a lot of fans took that into too much and wore their heart on their sleeve a little bit too much. Like, at the end of the day, we're here as fans. We buy the shirts, we watch the team on the weekend, and we're there to support. Like, why are we trying to get involved in the politics of the club has got me fucked. And I think that made things a lot more sour for fans, because once fans start getting involved in fees and what people are being paid, well, it just starts to leave a bit of a bad taste in the mouth, doesn't it? So, and things spiral out of control. But look, Ozil, for me, he was. I'm not like you are, Schwinn, where you're a massive fan of Ozil, and I respect any massive fan of Ozil. Like, at the end of the day, I watch the player on the pitch. I don't worry about the politics on what's happening behind the scenes. But the player on the pitch, I could say he was brilliant one day and not so brilliant the next. And that was probably my biggest problem with him. After he won the World Cup with Germany, I did see a decline in him. I did see, and Sanchez played a massive part in that Ozil that Tony was talking about, pre the Leicester City season. What year was that? 2018, was it? 17?
No, it was way before that. It must have been. It was either the year. I think it was 14-15, because I think it was a year after the World Cup.
15-16.
15-16.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So for me, Alexis Sanchez, because them two players, they just like.
Well, look at
Sanchez.
We can have this debate all day long, whether Mesut Ozil gave Alexis Sanchez a career at Arsenal, or was it the other way around, or
that's right,
or is it unfair to say one gave the other a career, right? But first of all, the World Cup was in 2014, and then of course his best season at Arsenal was after the World Cup. So while I agree there was a decline at his, for him, it was after that season, and yes, he never hit those heights, never even came close to those heights. But perhaps I'm a bit biased, but I'm in the camp that he gave Alexis, a career at Arsenal, because Alexis was the one who was sort of the wild, the sort of just going crazy, headless chook out there. And they always looked for each other, didn't they? We spoke about that on the show, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But I think it was Mesut who gave him a career at Arsenal. I think it's unfair to put it the other way, but that's just my opinion. And I think we can go back and forth on that all day long.
Yeah,
regardless of who made who a better player at Arsenal, the fact remains, and I'll never hear any different, we don't sign Sanchez unless Ozil's at the club, because we weren't a place where top players came, ever. Like, you look at our signings before him, and Santi turned out to be a fantastic player, but we signed him from a broke as fuck Malaga, and Barcelona and Real Madrid weren't trying to sign him. You look at, obviously, we get Ozil from Real Madrid, becomes a World Cup winner, regarded as the best 10 on earth, and then other players look to come to you. But you look at signings before that, nothing against Giroud, nothing against Podolski or Cazorla, who were all the summer before, but they weren't like world-class, world-regarded players. I mean, the story goes that we tried to loan Demba Ba on the day we signed Ozil, and Mourinho said, I'm not giving them anyone with Ozil behind him, because anyone that plays in front of Ozil will score goals. So I just think I don't care about who made who a
No, I
player,
agree
but
with you. I agree
I
with you.
think the
I agree.
options he opened up for us, or his signing opened up for us, it kind of changed the view as a club.
Yeah,
Commercially
yeah,
too, just to sort of
it
add
did.
that.
Look, it was a funny time, wasn't it, at Arsenal? Because, like, you know, we just gone through, you know, that decade of the Invincibles and the Henrys and the, you know, that type of era was closed and finished, and Wenger hadn't won a lot for a good couple of years prior to, you know, Sanchez and Ozil joining. Like, there might have been an FA Cup or something there, but I don't, you know, there wasn't nothing. Oh, hang on, 2008, 2000. Yeah, so it was around the 2010, 11, 12 mark. It was just a quiet couple of years in the club, wasn't it? There was no
We
trophy.
didn't win anything between 2005 and 2014.
Yeah, okay. So you got a better memory. My memory's fucking hopeless. But, you know, so you're dead right. Sanchez signed, and I was very happy with that signing. And then when Ozil signed, I was very happy with that signing as well. And like, I'm not, and as fans, I keep saying this again, we shouldn't have to be getting involved in the politics of it. Like, at the end of the day, wear the shirt, support your club, be happy. If you're not happy, be sad, but don't get involved in what we're paying players. Like, if you asked me today what Rob Holding signed for, I got absolutely no idea. I know he signed a new contract. I don't know how much it was for, and do I care? No. If Rob Holding had left Arsenal, I'd be thinking, oh, fuck, there goes a defender. We've got to try and replace him now. Who are we going to get? You know, things like that. I ask the question. But at the end of the day, if you're paying him 150 a week, 1,000 a week, I don't care. It's not my fucking problem. So that's where I think Ozil, he created a massive split in fans. You know, you were either an Ozil in, Ozil out. It was almost like Wenger in, Wenger out, wasn't it? There was a split fan base, and I, from what a lot of that I see is the split fan base wanted to get involved in the politics of what we were paying him. And you know, at the end of the day, £350,000 is a lot of money, and you probably expect the player to perform week in, week out. Did he live up to that? Probably not. However, once again, it's not our problem on what the club pay him. He's had a good manager, obviously. Yeah, look, it's good to see chapters finished, and I wish him all the best for the future. I still think that we could have got something out of him. I really hate the fact that what happened to him at the end of his career at Arsenal at the last 2 years has been just a massive fuck up, hasn't it? Really, like. But I think it's above the managers. I think it was something to do with the board and things. But I'm not going to sit here and speculate because it's happened. It's gone. It's finished. So best of luck to him.
Above anything, and look, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because fans aren't going to be back this year. So even if he stayed till the end of the contract, it wouldn't happen. But above anything, I wanted one last "We've got Ozil." Like, I've just been watching videos of it this week, and like, we've just been robbed of that. Like, and I don't know if he would have got a good send off if there was fans there and he had like Ramsey on his last day. I would like to think he would have done, but I don't know. But I would just, especially away, not so much at the Emirates, but I would love to have been away at some northern shithole and just a belt out of We've Got Ozil. As I said, I've been watching videos of it this week and kind of feel robbed of that, but it is what it is. And as I said, it's for the best. But sometimes you just think, I mean, you always want one more of something you can't have anymore.
I would have liked him to play the FA Cup game the other week. Like, I thought maybe there's a chance that they give him a little farewell on there, like just on the TV. And yeah, even if it's a couple of minutes, I thought, well, he deserved that. Like, and that's
he's been isolating anyway, so it was impossible. But you're also causing trouble for yourself. You play him, he scores or get an assist, and then all of a sudden it vindicates
him on the last couple of minutes, Tony, in injury time, and let him just say thank you and see you later.
Yeah, but again, that's assuming it's football reasons.
Yeah.
and then there's an appearance fee to come into it, we assume. So, look, I mean, I never expected that, but as I said, for me, I would have just loved to have been there, and not even a performance, I wouldn't even care if he played, but just him there, even if he's on the bench, and him being able to recognise that there is some appreciation from fans, and vice versa. But it isn't to be. And I mean, watching videos like that never help. And they led me to watching Jack videos, which is interesting because you brought him up at the beginning of the show. So the question I have is, whose exit cuts deeper for you two?
Mez, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Really?
Ozil does for me.
Oh my God, it's not even close for me.
Really? Yeah. I just think Jack. I'm
not asking who's a better player, by the way.
I think there's also some proximity now because of social media, isn't there? I never felt that close to Jack. I think for you, perhaps there's a lot more commonalities, but for me, there weren't, apart from a couple, and he wasn't that relatable. But Mez has been closer as an athlete, not similar background, but definitely more commonality than Jack, for example. So yeah, Mez.
Okay. I just want to touch one more thing, boys, before we go, but I'm just going to read a couple of questions. Jove, he says, where is he? I've seen it. If we lose one out of the two against Southampton, which one would it be? League or FA Cup for you boys? Oh shit. I was gonna jump in and say the league, but now I'm like, I don't want to bow out of the FA Cup. So yeah. What do you boys think?
FA Cup.
I refuse to choose a game to lose. I win them both.
Yeah, win them both. Yeah, win them both. He also says Ozil bought us silverware after a long time. He just couldn't continue bringing it. History now better this way. Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know if it was all his. I don't think it was all his fault. Like the biggest problem I felt, and maybe a few Arsenal fans felt this way as well, was at games you'd see lack. You felt like there was lack of not effort, but lack of interest. Maybe he never. But then, did we expect too much of him? Like, did we expect a Ferrari to perform at every game? Like, this is, I could never put my finger on it. Schwinn, you probably, you'll probably be able to look at things like that. But for me, I never got a wow out of Ozil every single game. And maybe
I think there was an imbalance in the performance and the expectation. And, just like he disappointed us sometimes the team disappointed him as well. And I think maybe that was some of the reasons behind, the head bowing down and the shoulders getting shrugged a bit. And I'm not going to sit here and argue that, no, that never happened, because it did. And it annoyed me as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, it's a two-way street, right? And if we are going to say that, he was the one responsible for not bringing some of the more acclaimed silverware, then we should give him full credit for winning the FA Cup as well. All the FA Cups that we did, because he played a crucial role in those runs, in a couple of finals as well. And it's not that binary. It's a lot more gray and nuanced than that.
There's no love for Sanchez, was there? Sanchez is a rat in the end. He thought he was above everyone else. Look, at the end of the day, poor old Sanchez, he just wanted the money, I felt. Look where he is now. He's playing the Serie A. Apparently he's going all right. I haven't watched much of him.
I think Arsene Wenger said the other day, there was a quote flying around that someone asked him what was the difference between Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal and Alexis Sanchez at Man United, and he said Mesut Ozil.
Yeah, I did say that, actually. Yeah, that's maybe where I got that comparison from. Rohan says, when was our last good or great right back?
Sanya.
Yeah.
Sanya was top drawer in a pretty shit side, to be honest. For most of his Arsenal career, he was in not the best side. But I thought Sanya was class.
Okay, boys. Arsenal did make a signing. I'm pretty sure it's official, but the rumours everywhere. Richard Garlick as our new director of football. Thoughts, Tony? What's he going to bring?
I mean, a comedy food name, I guess. Look, he's come. He was at West Brom and he's been at the FA for a while. This for me comes into the same level of politics you was talking about. I don't really care. Like, I mean, we needed someone to do the job, so well done on getting that. I'm not going to pretend to know his credentials. He's worked at the FA. You'd assume he knows the sport inside out. And look, this comes into in a few years, or whenever anything goes wrong, people go, "Oh, you've not got football people." Does he count as a football person? Because okay, maybe he's never played, or he's almost certainly never played at any level. But he's been at the FA. He's been at West Brom. So for me, that's a football man in a football job. But yeah, I mean, so I'm not going to get excited about it. They needed to bring someone in. They've done it. Fingers crossed he's good at his job. Like,
Yeah. I'm the same as you, mate. I don't really care too much politics. Look, they brought a bloke in. I know fuck all about him, credential-wise. I know he is, thereabouts. He was at the FA as well. And I only got that because that's what the fucking people talk about on the news and shit when you're watching it. They go, look, I presume my only thing is I say I don't want to get into politics, but I hate watching. I never, ever, ever want to see another situation with Arsenal and Sanchez and Ozil. They're the two players that I think, if only we had assigned them under another deal and got some money out of them, or had we had somebody to negotiate something, or things like that.
well, you say that, but I mean, Sanchez was finished. It wasn't just that he left Ozil; his legs were gone, and we've seen that since. And Ozil did sign the contract, okay, for more money than we'd like to give him, and he's basically been hammered ever since. Sanchez would have been the same because his legs are gone. So. Look, it's easy being like revisionist and going, "Oh, had we signed them two?" But I mean, we did sign Ozil, and no one fucking likes him. So I don't know what would have been any different.
I think it's more the fact that I just like to see. Okay, look, you hear, and this is so hard because I'm trying not to get involved in the politics of it, which I obviously I don't. But two things you do here every window, right? One thing is Arsenal don't have any money, and the second thing is usually this player's leaving for free. So therefore I think to myself, something's just not right. We
have a huge issue. We have a huge issue with tying people down, but it's not always been a bad thing long term. Because, as I said, imagine we'd given Sanchez. I mean, he got 500 at Man United. Imagine we'd given him the 350 we gave, like him and Ozil. And they're both here up until now, both stinking the place out on, or not playing, or whatever way you want to put it.
Yeah, I know, man.
Not money, but I mean, I agree with the concept. I just think the names example is bad. And look, everyone's hammering Aubameyang now. When 4 months ago, or whatever it was, people were fucking crying for him to sign the contract. So sometimes people get the job done. Like I said, this guy could re-sign Lacazette in the summer because I mean he's in his last year after this summer. He could re-sign him, and people, whatever way, if Lacazette's then shit after that, it'd be fucking garlic breath, sign this idiot on too much money. Or if we let Lacazette go, it's like, oh, this idiot didn't re-sign our number 9. So people love, like, do you know what I mean? People criticize us for not re-signing Alexis while hammering us for re-signing Ozil, but also not looking that Alexis has done nothing since. It's like, it's one of them roles you can't win. Basically, you just can't win. Like maybe
I could say Mkhitaryan and Socrates. Then.
Yeah, but again, it's just one of them roles you can't win regardless. Like, look, I thought Husfami was an idiot, and I said it from the day we signed him. Basically, he never done anything that I couldn't have done. But people hammer him for, you didn't get Ramsey done, you didn't get Jack done, you didn't get whoever done. I've never heard anyone go, Husfami got Saka to re-sign. Well done. Never heard it. So it's one of them roles that you're never ever going to get any credit for it. But as soon as anything goes wrong, or it doesn't even have to go wrong, it just has to be you didn't do what people thought you should have done. As I said, like people moan that we didn't re-sign Alexis, even though you've seen that Alexis was done.
Yeah.
So it's just one of them.
Fair enough.
Hopefully he does the job well. He's never going to get any credit for anything, but hopefully there's no monumental fuck-ups.
Okay. No, I agree with you. Just looking for questions here before we go. Would you guys give Arteta money to spend this window or see out what he does with it current for the rest of the season? Look, for me, I presume he's talking January. For me, it's about, Socrates, Ozil, working out what Mustafi's doing, things like that. I'm not overly worried. I think we've got a pretty okay squad. I don't think we're going to spend a lot of money. We might bring in a couple of players who we really haven't heard of just to, fill out injuries and things like that. Like you might see, I'm thinking like Murray, Cedric. They know it didn't cost a lot of money and they can do a job. I don't think Arsenal are going to run out and spend 50 million in January. And I just don't think the money's around too with all the COVID and all that shit. Like at the end of the day, it'd look pretty piss poor. Arsenal just went and got a loan for $100 and something million pounds and to cover staff wages and for COVID and all that, similar to what Tottenham does. And I think it's obviously available through the government there, Tony, or something. I'm not going to make out that I know much about it, but it'd look pretty piss poor to then go and buy a £50 million player. That's kind of where I guess I'm coming from, Tony.
I'll start on the loan first because I forget about it otherwise. I couldn't believe we didn't do it in the summer and only Tottenham had done it. And I remember being on here saying like people are hammering them for it. I think it's a great business move from them. So I'm glad we've done it. I saw some criticism about it today saying, Arsenal just borrowed X amount and then they're paying off Ozil and whatnot. But for me, it makes very good business sense. In terms of sign-ins, I personally would only sign a 10 on loan, but it has to be someone of a decent level because, and this is not me bigging up Smith Rowe in a sense, but if Smith Rowe gets injured with our current squad, we are fucked because we've got no one else that can play that role at all. Like, who'd you play there, Danny or Joe Willock, and neither of them are 10s and neither of them run off the ball, which is the thing that's doing us so well at the moment. So, like, I know when Smith Rowe got sent off against Newcastle in the cup, my thought was, well, that's us fucked for 3 games. I didn't even care about the game I was actually watching. It was more that, like, shit, we're in trouble here. Obviously, that got rescinded. But we need someone, and look, you can't rely on Smith Rowe to play every game. He's not. I've said this before. He's not fit enough in terms of he's blowing out his arse after 70, 75, and he'll only get fitter by playing. But you can't expect him to be putting in 70, 75 at that intensity every week and not pull up at some point or not damage a hamstring or a calf or whatever. So for me, I would like to see someone come in that can share that duties with him. And it probably wouldn't be a sign-in in this stage of where we are as in January window, not much money about. I don't think there's been a major sign-in yet for anyone.
No,
I
don't think other leagues have made any big signings like Bayern.
I know, like, seen a few loans. Like Eintracht Frankfurt got Jovic back, and
there's a few loans about. Like the only one that I thought that might happen was that Upamecano. Bayern Munich were looking at somebody.
He won't go. He won't go
I don't.
January.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen in January. I think that was more the summer. So because
likely to be joining PSG.
But it'll be a loan, I think. Dele Alli.
Sorry, who was that, Schwinn?
Dele Alli.
Oh, yeah, that was. Yeah, I did say
but
that.
I mean, again, is that even if it is a transfer, which I don't, from the reports that we're reading, I don't think it is that a big deal? Because it's a guy that can't get in his team and he's going, like, for me, that's the same as Ozil going, really. I mean, worldwide, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? No one goes, oh, fucking hell, like, PSG has signed Dele Alli.
Wasn't it around £25 million or something? That's
I don't know. I've only read loans, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's just not really been anything worldwide transfer wise, and especially not for any significant fee. So I can't see anyone really doing much. But for me, I would like to see an option. Like, say, as I said, say Smith Rowe does his hamstring in the 10th minute today. Who'd you bring on? William? Probably. And, I mean, we all know how happy we'd be with that. So I just think someone where maybe they're not going to play every game, but they'd come on and you go, okay.
Stop. Go and touch a piece of wood now. Because if he does a hamstring this week, I'm cutting you. You're gone. You're out.
Benched.
You can go with Darren and the crew.
He'll be rested on Saturday anyway.
Joe says he thinks it's a bit of a risk to give him tons of money to spend this window. I just think it's no money around, to be honest. Like I said, I from everything I'm reading, and I'm not seeing much money get thrown around. I'm seeing lots of COVID. I'm seeing lots of people getting their little needles. I'm thinking by the end of this, coming into the summer, the economy might be getting a little bit back on track, but I still think it's a lot to go. And maybe in the summer that you might see these clubs bouncing back and being able to spend. But in January, I think everybody's holding their cards.
Do you know what's really annoying? In theory, we've made signings that should have saved us a load of money. Or not even signings, but Martinelli and then Saka coming through and ESR to an extent. Like, you think, fucking hell, that saved us potentially 200 million. But it hasn't, because we already spunked money on Pepe just before Saka came through. The other two have potentially saved us a lot of money, but they've come at you needed people in front of them. So Aubameyang signed a massive contract, and I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but you needed that. So it's given Martinelli time to come through. And then obviously we spoke about Ozil all day, so I'm not going to go there again. But it's just annoying that it's like timings. Like, for example, Liverpool, Trent came through before they'd spent big money on a right back. And I mean, you can name a few others at other clubs where the players come through just before, and with us, it's happened just after. So they've not saved us the money that they could have and should have done. Yeah.
No, it'd be interesting, but we'll just see. I don't think much is going to happen, but okay, boys, that's about us. We'll wrap this up.
Did you check Twitter? There's a Twitter question.
Oh, there was a couple of Twitter questions, actually. Give me a look. I forgot about that. Give me a look. See, you can talk if you want, boys. It's free platform here. No,
it's okay. Makes for better listening if you're just silent, right?
I'm fucking
speaking of big transfer news, Fabrizio Romano just tweeted that David Alaba has moved to Real Madrid. The pre-contract is almost ready, so it still won't happen this window.
January.
But
strange move.
I was surprised we were not in the hunt for him. I mean, it's clear. He wants that's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. That's why, like, Liverpool, PSG, and Real are the ones.
Well, I thought Man City would have been a no-brainer. He's played under Pep. They haven't got a left back, and it's style-wise, he suits them. I mean, Real Madrid's a bit strange because I don't know where they're going to play him. Because left back, they've got Marcelo, who's on his way out, but they've just spent a lot of money on Ferland Mendy. Centre midfield, you'd say they're pretty stocked, and I can't see him going centre back with Ramos, and they ain't going to drop Ramos. So it's a strange one, Real Madrid, but hey ho.
Okay. So Hakon Larson, he says, do we see any incomings in January? That was his question. So pretty much we just answered that. He's also says, now I'm going to butcher this. Bissouma. Good partner for Partey, question mark.
I think he's one of the most overrated players in the league. Everyone loves him apart from me. I think he makes 400 fouls a game. I spoke to a lot of Brighton fans about him when I think he first started making his name for them, and because I'd seen him play unbelievable a couple of times, and they said he's unbelievable 8 games a year and utter shit the other 30. And he's maybe skewed that ratio more towards the middle now, where it's 19 good, 19 bad, or maybe more good than bad. But the way I see people go on about him, for me, is insane. I'm not saying he's not good, but he's horribly inconsistent. He stands out in a not very good team. I mean, like, when you see a lot of teams have looked at him as well, so maybe I'm just seeing it wrong, but I'm not a fan at all. The fees are being touted for him.
What's all they talking?
40 plus.
Ooh, no.
Like for me, if you said to me, even if he's no object, you can take one Brighton player, it wouldn't be him.
No. Oh, I don't. I watch, as we all do, I watch a lot of games in the Premier League. When I'm watching Brighton, I don't go, wow. Like, I don't go, oh, shit, we need to sign that player. So he obviously hasn't jumped into my radar. That's why.
Also, what's difficult is, as I said, he has however many good games a year, and I don't think he's ever played bad against us. In all fairness, but I always felt that way about Ross Barkley, and I know Addy rates him, and I never have done.
I do
but
like Barkley.
He always played well against us, which made it difficult when I was saying to people, "No, I don't think we should sign him. I think he's shit," because he always played well against us, and Bissouma's similar. I don't think he's had a bad game against us.
Just off topic for a minute because you mentioned Barkley, but Drinkwater, he went out
Turkey
on loan, to Turkey. I was like, wow, that was wasn't he the bloke didn't they sign him in January and he like drove to the club and sat out the front waiting for the contract? Was that it? Was that someone?
No.
Was that Barkley?
Barkley,
it was deadline day.
Barkley when he came to Chelsea, I think.
Okay, yeah, he was out the front, and I vaguely remember it was going everywhere. Yeah, okay.
I think it was Mahrez who was like flying around to try and find a club for himself.
Yeah, Mahrez was too. That's fucking funny, huh? Okay, boys, that's us, eh? Anything else, Schwinn?
Nope.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We are an Arsenal podcast. You can get us on Twitter at Arsenal CET Pod. That's at Arsenal CET Pod. You can get me at Gunnar as well, and the at thing is in the profile. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for downloading. We'll see you all next week. Cheers, lads.
Bye.